Hi, thank you for having me here today. I'm very excited to be in Lithuania. It's my first time here. Today I'm going to talk about turnkey development platforms to advance blockchain technology, because I think it's very important that there isn't, I mean, it's not just about the companies that are starting with the blockchain, but it's about actually implementing blockchain into existing ecosystems. And that's kind of what I want to stress today. So let's start. A bit about myself. We had a great introduction. I'll just say a little bit more. So I am American Peruvian. I'm born in the US, Peruvian heritage. My whole family's from Peru. And I grew up in Bolivia, Colombia, Paraguay, Argentina, and then I went to college in Shanghai, in China, where I went to NYU Shanghai, studied business and finance, and then I moved to Stockholm, Sweden, which is where I'm currently based, and I started working for Haflo. We're a family fund, and I am a venture capital analyst and a cryptocurrency investor, writer, and speaker, cryptocurrency and blockchain. And then I've also started 2 fashion startups on the side. So I like to do a lot. I'm very ADHD, so I feel the need to do many things at the same time. So a bit about Haflo. We're a family fund. We invest in seed technology startups. And we seed stage technology startups, and we also have a cryptocurrency portfolio. We day trade cryptocurrency, and we do real estate, and we invest in funds as well. So I'm very open to meeting anybody who has a great startup. Message me on LinkedIn or my email. It'll come up later, but yeah. So that's a little bit about Haflo. So how did I start with cryptocurrency and the blockchain? Well, it wasn't very techie approach to it. My boss, this is when I first joined Haflo, it was about right here. And we saw Bitcoin was at $1,900. And my boss started getting very antsy because he sees it like quickly rising. And he's like, we have to do something about this. He gets this like fear of missing out. So he's like, okay, I need you to start investigating and start writing articles about it so you can tell me what to invest in. So that's exactly what I did. And I kind of created articles that were helping to explain blockchain and cryptocurrency to people who didn't understand it. And then those started picking up, and then I started speaking about it and doing a lot more with it. So, but it was really funny because when I first got into it, I dragged my feet a lot. I don't know how many of you here have tried to, by a raise of hands, how many of you have tried to understand the blockchain by yourselves and like Googling it? It's not a very easy task. I don't know about you guys, but when I first started Googling it, I was like, what am I reading? And so I would like, Martin be like, so where are your articles? I'm like, you know, they're getting there. And I was very slow at this process because I would get very confused. And I realized the language is unnecessarily techie, and it's creating this kind of disconnect between people that can use it as a solution and this exclusive cryptocurrency blockchain world that I started finding myself in. So yeah, I started writing articles to kind of help this out and kind of solve this like technical thing. So where do I see a huge opportunity to kind of bridge this gap? Well, that's turnkey development platforms. And these are platforms that can just implement blockchain technology into existing companies in the places where they need to be. And I'll talk about a few of the use cases for this in a bit. But I think that the best way to start getting people open to the blockchain and using it is by actually implementing it and showing them how it can make their systems more efficient, but only in the areas that it's necessary. I don't think everything should be blockchain-based, but I think there's a lot of efficiency and a lot of stuff that we can get out of it. So, and we see just the vanilla use case alone, which is trading and transferring currency. We now have a market cap of around 389 billion. We have 1,610 different cryptocurrencies out there, and there's just so much more industry to disrupt. So these are a few of the cases, but that's kind of a blurry image. I'll just get to these. This is, of course, a vanilla use case where you transfer money and it's verified by a decentralized group of people. Then you have my favorite one, which is smart contracts. And so I mentioned that I'm from Peru, and I grew up in South America. So when I encountered smart contracts, I was just like, this is very revolutionary, because I don't know if you guys know too much about Peru or the places where I grew up, but we don't believe in our legal system. Our legal system kind of, it ends up whoever can give the judge a bigger bribe. So I would never sue somebody, because it's just a very inefficient system and it's corrupt. So when you can't believe in your legal system, a lot of times you just kind of cut your losses. Now, something like a smart contract can allow you to not cut your losses and have kind of a cushion. So let's say I'm remodeling your kitchen, and I say, all right, let's go into a smart contract. All of a sudden, the funds go into kind of an escrow, and then when I finish remodeling your kitchen, I know that you're good for the money, because the smart contract is going to actively transfer the funds to me, instead of me having to pursue you and be like, hey, can you pay me? Because a lot of times what happens in South America is they're like, no, I'm not going to pay you. What are you going to do about it? You're not going to go to the legal system, and then you have all sorts of problems. You have mafias that will go after you, and all this like kind of negative world that comes along with not being able to trust your legal system. So smart contracts can solve a lot of this, and I personally am very excited to see this being implemented in my countries, I guess you can say. And then, the ownership of things is undisputed. You can sell houses, you can sell all these things using smart contracts, products, services, and you have a clear kind of ledger where these things are displayed. And then, okay, let's say we have a problem. Let's say inside this remodeling of the kitchen, you say, you didn't do a good job. And I say, all right, well, let's kind of dispute that. So who takes care of that? Who are kind of the lawyers in smart contracts? And these are a decentralized group of arbitrators. And these arbitrators can kind of review the case. We both submit our data, and they decide how much I should get for the remodeling. And then, okay, let's say you say, I want somebody who's an expert at remodeling to review the case. You can actually have that. So an expert at remodeling kitchens can be verified by an identification system, and their certificates can be identified, and you can do this with just about anything. Medical cases, you can have doctors that have this system of identification behind them, and they have their digital ID, and they upload their certificates, and somebody checks to make sure that they're accurate. And then all of a sudden, you have a whole kind of world of like people who can help solve problems. And it's no longer centralized. It's not centralized in a corrupt system of government, a legal system of government. So this is a very, very cool use case that I'm really excited to see implemented. I think this can be implemented in law firms. It can be implemented in a lot of different places, and especially in the developing world. I think this is truly revolutionary. Voting systems. So not just in the developing world, but there's been a lot of, even in the US, there's so many disputes about whether the votes are actually counted and the transparency of voting. So you can actually have these systems for governments where people can have their digital IDs again, and they can cast their vote, and their vote gets encrypted, it gets sent into and it gets validated to make sure that each person only votes once. It gets mixed up and encrypted so that it's anonymous. So it's only like a series of numbers and letters. So people don't know that you were the actual person that voted for this person, but you can check to make sure that your vote counted. And then you have the results of an election. And I know there's lots of countries, especially in this area of the world, that are actually trying to implement this into their governments. In fact, I believe it's Estonia has been doing a similar kind of system of voting for a while. Then you have notaries. So notaries, when I was younger and I had to travel with one of my parents, we always had to go to the notary together, and they had to like sign off and say, yes, she's allowed to travel alone with her father. If we all have digital IDs and my father and my mother say, yes, she is allowed to travel, I mean, it's just a much more efficient system. And these can all be easily implemented through like a turnkey development platform that just kind of puts it into the existing system. You don't have to change anything else. You don't have to do an ICO. You don't have to start a whole blockchain company around it. You can just implement the blockchain and what's necessary. So records as well. I talked to a cool company today who's kind of working with this. But you can have these records for not just here. I have an example of like a pig, and you can follow it from the farmer to the producer, distributor, retailer, and the consumer can see exactly where the pig meat came from. But you can also have this for the secondhand market. So if you go onto like Vestiaire and you want to buy a handbag, a designer handbag, and you want to make sure that it's authentic, you could actually track it to the previous owner who bought it from the designer. So you can see from the serial number that it went from Gucci to Amazon to this person to Vestiaire, and then now you're buying it, but you can see the authenticity. So that's another very cool use case that we can start implementing in things like Vestiaire. You can have so many businesses that can implement this system of records. And then medical. So I've moved around a lot, and I don't even know where my what vaccines I have at this point, because that's definitely been lost in small yellow card. So if I had a system where all of my medical records from my hospital in DC and my hospital in Shanghai and my hospital in Sweden could combine and be like, yep, she's had a history of this, she's had this vaccine, and then a medical facility here could just come in and see, okay, this is what she's had in her whole medical history, it would make life so much more simple. So this is kind of interesting because you're no longer decentralizing this, you're actually centralizing it using the blockchain, because you have all these facilities that normally centralize the information, and now it's all decentralized and you're bringing it back to you. So this is a very cool use case. Not only that, but you can also have like all your prescriptions on the blockchain, and it can actually see whether or not these medications interact and how they interact with each other. Because if I get prescribed something that reacts badly to something else that I've been prescribed in another country, I have no idea, and I could have forgotten. There's so much discrepancy around this. So here we have a little bit of kind of, you can see what prescriptions you're approved for. And I've encountered this problem traveling quite a bit. And then gaming. So this is a very cool industry. I actually own 4 CryptoKitties. Not ashamed to say that. I was very excited at this, the first Ethereum game on the blockchain, and the algorithm just generates these random cats and people buy into it. I have actually traded and bred CryptoKitties, and it's a lot of fun. And this is only the beginning, because like I said, it's like we're still at the very beginning of this blockchain and cryptocurrency era. And just having, so back to the main point, having places like a turnkey development platform that can actually implement this blockchain technology into an existing company, like you could take Airbnb and be like, all right, let me put blockchain in and decentralize your customer service. You no longer need to cut your losses with people fighting over disputes. You have it done with a decentralized group of people who are incentivized to solve these disputes for you. And I'm sure that there's so many companies that's just kind of about targeting them and talking to them about these solutions and how they can implement them, and they can be put in within a week. So I think this is kind of the future of where we're going in terms of advancing blockchain technology and putting it into these systems. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. And if there's any questions, please feel free to add me on LinkedIn or email me. I'm very open to talking about it, and you can check out my articles on LinkedIn as well. Thank you very much.